Hello and welcome to Creative Task 4 for creativity for mental well-being. I hope you are having a wonderful week. So today we're going to be looking at tactile crafts, and what we mean by tactile is something that you can touch, something that you can feel, something that you use your hands or even your feet in order to do. So we won't be using our lovely notebook this week. We will be using modelling clay, plasticine, Play-Doh, anything that you have like that. So let's get started. You can use any colour that you want for this task, it's not important right now. I'm just going to unwrap some of this and pick out one of my colours, and I'm just going to be using some yellow. So physically, tactile crafts are really good for us because they use our hands or our muscles or physically use our body in some way. So we can squish and move things around in our hands. We'll do this to warm up with the clay anyway so that it's easier to model with. But it gives us a physical outlet for what we're feeling. So for example, if you're having a bad day, or perhaps earlier on in the day something went wrong and you've been angry about it or upset, you can, really get that feeling out. Squish all of your feeling into the plasticine or into your clay, and it can just give a physical outlet for that feeling. And it's a non-destructive outlet. So we've talked about that in the workbook. And what we mean by non-destructive is that it's not hurting anyone and it's not hurting anything. So the brilliant thing about plasticine and clay is that you can shape it and mould it and squish it and squeeze it and all sorts, and it's not damaged, as opposed to some other things that we might do. They can damage either ourselves or they can damage the things around us. So I'm going to keep on going with this because the heat of my hands is now starting to make my clay, my plasticine, a little bit easier to mould. It's very hard during December to work with clay when it's very cold outside, or you might be very cold too. Hopefully after a little while this will warm up nicely for me. So what we're going to do, we are simply going to hold our dough, our clay, and we are going to close our eyes if you're comfortable to do that. If you're not comfortable to close your eyes, that's not a problem. You can do this with your eyes open. And we're just going to shape our piece of clay into a feeling. So any feeling that you might be having or any feeling that you've had, you can think about that now and think about how it feels in terms of shape. Does it feel like it would be spiky? Does it feel like it would be angular, so lots of sharp edges and things like that? Does it feel like it's round? Does it feel like it has lots of round sticky out bits? And you can just shape your clay with your eyes closed or your eyes open into whatever shape you think that feeling is like. And you just use your fingers to shape the clay or the dough to however you might be feeling. You can talk about this as you're doing it, if you're doing it with somebody else, if you feel comfortable to talk about your feelings, or you can just keep it to yourself. Your feelings are your own, and that's okay. And any way that you're feeling is also perfectly okay. So you can name your feeling. So you can say, this is how anger, anxiety, sadness feels to me. So I have gone for sadness because this week I have been a little bit sad. This time of year is a little bit difficult. There's lots of pressure with Christmas coming up. And sometimes if you're not enjoying something that everybody else is around you, you can feel a little bit sad about that. So I have gone for sadness. And sadness to me is a block. it's a square. It's a lump with hard edges, and it sits in my stomach, I guess, and it just feels low, like I'm heavy, being dragged down, or I'm dragging it around with me, and that feels hard. It's hard carrying. I imagine it being a really heavy block. So if I were to try and take this around with me, it was much bigger and I'm dragging it around. Sadness feels like that, to try to move. You can move it, but it's hard work. It gets dragged around. It's not very easy, and it's heavy. It's a big bonk block of sadness. So that's what sadness looks like to me, or feels like to me, as a shape of a feeling. Heavy and solid, makes a thump when it lands on things. So you might be creating a completely different feeling, and however it looks to you in the shape is correct, is right. There is no right and wrong. It is right for you. If that's what you create, then that is perfectly fine. You can share them with us. You might choose to create more than one. You could create a whole display of your feelings and what they feel like to you in terms of shape. And if you'd like to share them with us, please feel free. But again, there's no obligation to. I hope you enjoy doing that, whether you do it eyes open or eyes closed.